So the second piece on tonight's program is titled Cinco Danzas de Chambi by Gabriela Lena. Born in 1972, Frank is an American composer and pianist currently based in Berkeley, California. So she identifies herself as Chinese, Lithuanian, Jewish, and Peruvian. And it's her Peruvian heritage, actually, that has inspired much of her compositional language. So while Frank was born and raised in the United States, she has traveled to Peru numerous times on anthropological trips and has worked closely with ethnomusicologist Raul Romero to record indigenous Peruvian music. And she's also learning the Quechua language, which is spoken in indigenous communities in southern Peru. So Cinco Danzas de Chambi is a work exploring exploring five photographs written by or taken by Amerindian photographer Martin Chambi, which you can find in your handouts. So the first movement, titled Harawi de Quispe, was inspired by the self-portrait of Miguel Quispe. Quispe was an indigenous activist who fought for improved socioeconomic conditions for his communities. So both Chambi and Frank have the utmost respect for him, and thus pay tribute to him through their art. So a Harawi is a genre of monophonic songs associated with farewells, marriages, and other ceremonies and rituals. So it's typically sung without accompaniment, and the origins of this genre date from pre-Hispanic times and have persisted until today. So for this project, I analyzed various recordings captured by Raul Romero and was published by Smithsonian Folkways. So in analyzing them, I've noticed irregular meter, often alternating between a triple and duple feel. I've also noticed tritonic scales, or scales that consist of 3 notes within the octave. So Frank replicates this in her score. The first movement is in 5/8 and is generally organized in a 2+3 pattern. The movement is also organized on a C-sharp tritonic scale, with the large beats outlining this. So that's the scale that she uses. So the second movement, Diablicos Puneños, was inspired by the photograph Danzarín de la Diablada taken in 1925. The Diablada is an elaborate mestizo dance linked to the Altiplano of Peru. It's characterized by colorful costumes embroidered with precious stones and rich fabrics, and this dance represents the struggle between good and evil. So because the Diablada is a festive dance, the feeling is generally in a lively 6/8, but Frank instead uses an irregular metric pattern alternating between 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 7/16, and 11/16. So think 11 beats in one measure. So with this, she was likely imitating the chacapa, which is a shaker or rattle constructed by bundled leaves with seeds. The viola part, on the other hand, consists of legato parallel fourths that are supposed to imitate a taika, or a breathy panpipe. So throughout the second movement, I'll be playing figures like that. So I actually believe this was an error on Frank's end, because if you look in the handout, you can see that a taika is actually not a panpipe, it's actually an aerophone with a mouthpiece to it. So the third movement, the Marcha, is based off of a photograph with the same name. It translates to Dance of the Maidens, although this is not a dance for prospective husbands. Rather, it's actually a dance by women for women. These dancers are known as Pastorones de Quiquijuana, which roughly translates to majorettes or baton twirlers of Quiquijuana. So this dance is performed by rotating heavy poles on your arms while maintaining the intricate dance steps. So in this movement, Frank first introduces it through a pizzicato passage in the viola, and it's imitating a charango, which is a quarterphone made out of armadillo shell. And I'm going to demonstrate that for you really quick, but I realized I forgot to pull up the score, so we're going to do that now. Okay. So that's the charango. So Frank then sets this movement to a carnavalito rhythm, which is characterized by a long, short pattern, which Chris will now demonstrate. So then on top of that, the viola is going to perform a melody based on a pentatonic scale typical of carnavalito dance songs. So the scale that she uses is this. And then the movement ends within the cello rondo over 20 beats, often done in carnival dances. So then there's two more movements. The fourth movement, Adoración para Angelitos, is based on the photo Dead Child Displayed for Mourners, and shows this very chilling photo of a deceased infant being prepared for burial. Adoración is the umbrella term for a worship song originating from the Catholic faith and has adapted throughout Latin America. So harmonically, this movement is the most straightforward out of all of them, which is saying something because there's a lot of harmony things that we need to talk about. So Frank centers this movement in A minor, but then adds dissonance by forming polychords, which are basically two triads stacked on top of each other, two different triads stacked on top of each other. So then the melody that Chris then plays is taken from a nursery rhyme, but Frank does not actually specify which one it is. So then, Frank embellishes this with parallel minor seconds to add more of a jarring undertone to this otherwise haunting melody. So actually at first I was unsure why Frank decided to add the parallel minor seconds, because in a lot of southern Peruvian cultures, the burial of a child is supposed to be seen as celebratory rather than somber, because it's believed that when a child dies, the child goes directly to heaven. And funeral music for children is generally more upbeat, for it's also believed that this music is what's directly accompanying the child to heaven. So thus, I was expecting this movement to be a lot livelier and consonant. The fifth movement, the final movement, Harawi de Chambi, is based on the self-portrait of Martin Chambi. So this movement closely resembles the first movement and is meant to link Chambi with Quispe. So the main difference is this quote from Béla Bartók's Violin Sonata No. 2, which I will now play. So Frank stated in her program notes, as well as in other interviews, that Bartók is one of her main inspirations for her music due to his collection of folk music throughout Eastern Europe and his incorporation of that into his own music. So although there are rightful critiques of Bartók regarding cultural appropriation, one cannot deny his influence on the founding of ethnomusicology as a legitimate research field. The methodologies that have emerged since Bartók are what makes this piece and this performance and analysis possible. So here's Cinco Danzas de Chambi. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.